Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling a topic that really underpins all of medical professionalism: confidentiality. It sounds simple on the surface, keep patient secrets, but the reality is it's a minefield.
It really is. The rules for when you can share and how you share are incredibly high stakes.
So we've pulled together the key sources. We're talking GMC guidance, the Caldicott principles, UK GDPR, to create a high-yield playbook. Our mission is to sort of resolve that tension doctors feel.
Exactly. The tension between patient trust on one side and the absolute need for safety or legal compliance on the other.
It's about moving beyond just keeping secrets, right?
Yes. The real challenge is knowing when your duty to share information for care or for public safety actually outweighs your duty to protect that patient's privacy. And you need a defensible rationale for it every single time.
Okay, so let's start with a classic dilemma. You're the F2 on call, the ward is chaotic, and you get a phone call. It's a distressed family member asking for a detailed clinical update. The patient is alert, they're capable, but you have no explicit recorded consent to share anything with this person. What is the very first thing you do?
That's the question.
And we're going to solve that exact problem using our framework, the LOCKIT mnemonic, by the end of this deep dive.
And mastering this stuff really matters, doesn't it?
It's everything.
It is. Because if you mismanage this, you can have two equally bad outcomes. You either breach privacy and erode trust, or you refuse to share information when it's needed for direct care or safeguarding. And that can cause actual patient harm.
So this protects the patient, but it also protects your registration.
Precisely.
Okay, let's unpack this. Before we get into the rules, let's get the language right. What exactly is information governance, or IG, in this context?
So IG is the whole framework. It's the legal, the ethical, the organizational structure for handling patient data.
It's more than just confidentiality, then.
Oh, much more. It covers the entire life of the data, how it's collected, stored, used, and, eventually disposed of. It really means using patient data lawfully and ethically.
And sharing it properly.
Yes, sharing only what's needed with the right people for the right reason on a secure system. And this is the key bit documenting it all.
Now, the sources bring up a core tension here, which I think trips a lot of people up. You have the GMC, which really hammers home the duty to protect confidentiality. But then you have the Caldicott principles, which talk about the duty to share. How do you square that circle?
That is the tightrope walk. The GMC principle is your starting point. Respect confidentiality and only use the minimum necessary disclosure.
That's the default setting.
Yeah, it's your default. But the Caldicott principles make it clear that the duty to share can be just as important, especially for safe, direct care.
Okay, so give me an example. Let's say I'm on a ward round. I need to tell the physio about a patient's acute kidney injury results to help them manage fluids. Is that okay?
Yes, absolutely. That falls squarely under what we call direct care sharing.
Right.
It's sharing information on a need-to-know basis within the immediate clinical team. The nurses, the physio, the senior doctor.
And you don't need written consent for that.
Generally, no.
Yeah.
It's covered by implied consent because the patient has come to you for care. The minimum necessary rule still applies, of course, but you don't need to get formal consent for every bit of basic sharing.
Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting. Disclosure without consent. I know there are a couple of big exceptions here.
There are, and they're really important. The first is when disclosure is required by law.
Non-negotiable.
Completely.
Right.
If a court orders you to release records or you have to report a notifiable disease like cholera, you do it. Your duty is to the law.
Yeah, and the second one, the trickier one.
The second is the public interest test. This is to prevent serious harm.
So things like?
Things like death, serious injury, a major crime, severe abuse. If breaking confidence is necessary to prevent something like that, say telling the DVLA about a patient with uncontrolled seizures who keeps driving, then the duty to protect the public can outweigh confidentiality.
You mentioned UK GDPR earlier. When we use that public interest test, what's the actual legal mechanism we're using? It's not just a gut feeling, is it?
No, absolutely not. It has to be legally defined. When you're processing sensitive health data without consent, you need a specific lawful basis under GDPR.
Okay.
For direct care, it's often Article 92H. But for overriding confidentiality for public protection, you might be relying on Article 92G, which is for reasons of substantial public interest. The ethical principle needs that legal foundation to be lawful.
That distinction, the ethical principle backed by a legal lever, that's what makes for a top-scoring answer, I think.
I agree.
So we've got this complex framework, but when the phone's ringing and you're rushed, you need something faster, a sort of a high-yield playbook.
You do. You need a stepwise approach so you can act defensively under pressure. First, you clarify the purpose. Is it direct care? A legal request. Second, you check the lawful basis, consent, law, public interest.
Right.
Third, minimize what you share and use a secure system. And fourth, always, always document the decision.
And to remember those 4 steps, the sources gave us a brilliant memory aid.
Yes, the LOCKIT mnemonic. It forces you to check all those boxes before you share anything.
So L is for?
The legitimate purpose. You must have a clear, documented reason for sharing, not just curiosity.
Okay. O is for only necessary info.
That's your minimum necessary principle. If they only need the plug gas, you don't send the whole social history.
Makes sense. C is for consent or a lawful condition.
Right. So you either have explicit consent or you're relying on one of those exceptions. A legal mandate, direct care, or the public interest test.
Then K is for keep secure. This is huge in the digital age.
Vitally important.
Yeah.
Use approved systems. The hospital EPR, secure NHS email, not your personal phone or an unapproved app.
I is for inform when appropriate.
Yeah, you want to avoid surprises. If you have to share information under public interest, you should generally tell the patient afterwards, unless, it would jeopardize something like a safeguarding investigation.
And finally, T, which you said is the most missed step.
It is. T is for trace. You have to document everything. Who you shared with, what you shared, why you shared it, and how. That's your audit trail. That's what makes your decision defensible.
That T, the documentation. That's where people lose marks in an SJT or get into real trouble professionally, isn't it?
100%. You need a rationale that still makes sense 6 months down the line.
Okay, let's get into some real-world scenarios and traps where these LOCKIT rules get broken. Let's go back to that opening dilemma. The relative's phone call.
Right.
The patient's alert, no consent is recorded, and their partner calls for an update.
Okay, so this is testing C for consent and T for trace. The big trap is to rely on them sounding caring.
I can see that happening.
It happens all the time. But if you give even limited details because they sound worried, you've breached confidentiality. You have no lawful basis.
So the best action has to try and solve the consent problem while still being professional.
Exactly. The best action is to politely decline, but immediately offer a solution. Say, I can't share details right now, but as your partner is alert, I'll go and check with them for permission and call you straight back if they agree.
Ah, I see. So you're balancing confidentiality with compassion.
You are. And you're starting the documentation process.
Yeah.
The worst thing you can do is either give details or just hang up. One is a breach, the other's unprofessional.
Okay, let's take a digital one. Scenario 2. The unapproved messaging app.
The WhatsApp photo.
Yes. A registrar posts a patient's wound photo in a private WhatsApp group for advice, even though there's a secure clinical app available.
This breaks K keep secure and probably O, only necessary as well. The trap answer is always, but WhatsApp is encrypted.
Right, but encryption isn't enough, is it?
Not at all. It's not an approved clinical system. That data is now on a personal device, outside the hospital's auditable record. You've lost control of it.
But I can hear the argument now. It's just quicker.
Time is never a defense for a data breach. The best action is damage control and system correction. You have to ask the registrar to delete the photo immediately.
From WhatsApp?
From WhatsApp. Then move the discussion to the approved app and make sure the image is uploaded properly into the EPR.
Okay, let's cover that third pillar, required by law. Scenario 3, fitness to drive.
A classic.
You see a patient with recurrent seizures. You believe they're a danger to the public if they keep driving, but they refuse to tell the DVLA.
This is where your duty to the public really comes into play. You have to tell the patient that if they won't report it, you are legally and ethically required to.
So you give them a chance first.
Always. The best action is to encourage the patient to report it themselves. Document that conversation.
Yeah.
But if they refuse, you must inform the DVLA yourself. It's a mandatory disclosure that overrides their refusal for the greater public good.
So it seems there are some massive red flags we should be looking for. Things that just scream, stop.
Absolutely. The first is an unverified caller or email. You have to confirm identity. Second is any request to send the whole record. That's an immediate violation of O, minimum necessary.
And the digital ones.
Using personal devices or group chats for patient data. That's a failure of K, keep secure. And really, any disclosure without a documented basis, no consent, no law, no public interest, if you see any of those, the action is wrong.
Okay, let's do a quick synthesis. We talked about implied consent for direct care. So how should we phrase that within the team?
I think you should focus on necessity and security. Something like, we can share what's needed for the patient's safety, but let's stick to relevant findings and use the secure platform for our notes.
What if a secure app is down and you genuinely need to use mobile messaging in an emergency?
If it's absolutely necessary, you follow the strict NHS guidelines. You minimize any identifiers, you transcribe the information into the EPR as soon as you possibly can, and critically, you delete the originals from your personal device.
Deleting the originals is the key step there.
It's what aligns with K&T. Keep it secure and trace it properly.
Okay. We've covered the tension, the playbook, the traps. Let's boil it all down to the 3 final key takeaways.
1. Always establish your purpose and your lawful basis. That's consent, law, or public interest before you share anything.
Got it.
2. Stick to the minimum necessary principle and only use approved secure systems. Never for convenience.
And 3.
3. Document every single decision. Your audit trail, the who, what, why, and how, is proof that you acted professionally.
So what this all really means for you, the learner, is that confidentiality isn't about being silent. It's about being purposeful, lawful, and secure. Every decision has to be defensible.
That's right, because protecting confidentiality is about protecting the doctor-patient relationship itself. It's the absolute core of good practice. Master this framework, and you really master professional conduct.
We stressed how important it is to delete images from personal devices, to follow those keep secure and trace rules. But here's a thought. What happens when you find out a colleague failed to delete those originals, and that breach is only discovered months later when a patient requests their data and the colleague is refusing to admit their mistake? Now that's a deep dive for another day.